Namaste, Pranam, Gita Dhyanam. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Ritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatva Manusandadhami Bhagavad Gite Bhavatveshinim. O Bhagavad Gita, with which Lord Narayana himself gave enlightenment to Arjuna, the ancient sage Vyasa included it in the Mahabharata. O Goddess, showerer of the nectar-like knowledge of non-dualism contained in your 18 chapters, O my affectionate mother, the destroyer of rebirth, I meditate upon thee. Krishna Vandana. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansa Chanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. Son of Vasudeva, the slayer of Kansa and Chanur, extreme delight for Mother Devaki, O Lord Krishna, the supreme teacher of the universe, my salutations to you. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the Dnyaan Vidyaan Yoga, 7th Adhyaya, and today is our 28th verse, 28th Shloka. We will just see what we read yesterday about why these beings, Sri Krishna is worried. He said, these people, they get deluded right from birth. And they don't even know me, although I know everything about them. Not only this birth, the entire past, this present and the future. But, unfortunately, no one knows me. The beings know me not. That is, that was Sri Krishna's sort of lamentation. His message to Arjuna, that I know everything, but people, they don't know me. The beings, they don't know me. And why it happens? Sri Krishna told us in the previous shloka. Ichchā-dvesha samuttena dvandva-moha-nirmuktā bharata sarva-bhūtāni sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. Right from birth, these beings, O Bharata, these beings, they get influenced by the pairs of opposites. The beings get influenced by the pair of opposites created by another pair of opposite, the Ichcha and Dvesh, the attachment, the desire and aversion. With these two desires crop up, these beings, they get spellbound. They come under the influence of this Maya and they are caught in the net of pairs of opposites. And then he addresses Parantapa, the scorcher of the foes. That part in the flow of our explanation and discussion on the shloka, that aspect actually we had somehow it got left out. The Sri Krishna addressing Arjuna as Parantapa, the destroyer of foes, the scorcher of foes. Now there is a reason for that. Because the beings right from birth, sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti. Sarge is, right at birth it happens. They get into this trap, O Parantapa. Now, Sri Krishna knows that Arjuna is not just Bharata, the excellent occupants of this land of Bharat, but he is also Parantapa. He is the destroyer of the enemies. He is scorcher of the foes. He has got the capacity of getting out of this delusion, which usually starts right at the birth, of getting entrapped in the pairs of opposites. And also the today's shloka, 28th shloka of the Dnyaan Vidyaan Yoga that we are going to read, the Sri Krishna's addressing Arjuna as Parantapa has got a very significant meaning. Arjuna has to be strong to come out of this delusion. And therefore, Sri Krishna in this 28th shloka, he is telling us about the path of perfection, path to get out of this delusion, path, the magic way to come out of this illusion, to break this veil of illusion. Sri Krishna says, yeṣhāṁ tvanta-gataṁ pāpaṁ janānāṁ puṇya-karmaṇām te dvandva-moha-nirmuktā bhajante mām dṛiḍha-vratāḥ. Now is the role of Parantapa that is going to come from this shloka onwards. Sri Krishna says, yeṣhāṁ tvanta-gataṁ pāpaṁ. Yeṣhāṁ is by whom? Of whom? To anta-gataṁ pāpaṁ. Having anta-gataṁ is the end of pāpaṁ, end of the sin. End of the sin by what? puṇya-karmaṇām. By doing virtuous deeds, by coming on the right path, leaving behind that sin of delusion. Yeṣhāṁ tu anta-gataṁ pāpaṁ janānāṁ puṇya-karmaṇām. Those beings, those very beings who have got deluded by the pairs of opposites, doing the virtuous deeds, walking on the path of knowledge, walking with the desire to know the reality. Anta-gataṁ pāpaṁ. They start destroying their sinful tendencies of getting trapped in the net of pairs of opposites. Te dvandva-moha-nirmuktā. And then they, those same beings who at one point of time, right at birth, having got deluded, having come under the spell of pairs of opposites, te dvandva-moha-nirmuktā, having freed from the pairs of opposites, having freed from the delusion created by the pairs of opposites. Bhajante mām dṛiḍha-vratāḥ. Then they start worshipping me with firm mind, with steadfastness, steadfast in their vows, dṛiḍha-vratāḥ. Then bhajante mām. They get hit by so many hurdles. Then they take up the right path. Then their sense of discrimination awakens. What is right? What is wrong? What is real? What is unreal? And that sense of discrimination of knowing what is real, what is unreal, what is permanent, what is temporary, what is impermanent, what is inchangeable and what is changeable, what is immutable and what goes mutations. Having got that knowledge, having got that perspective, that eye of discernment being opened, these beings, they shun their sinful tendencies. They come out of that entanglement of the web of pairs of opposites, and then being dvandva-moha-nirmuktā, freed from the delusion of those pairs of opposites, then bhajante mām dṛiḍha-vratāḥ. Then they start worshipping me. Then they start approaching me with the firmness, with the steadfastness that nothing is going to tempt us now in this world. No sense objects, no senses, no sense organs, they are going to create havoc for me, because I am not going to chase any pleasures. I am not going to be tempted by any sensual pleasures, any pleasures of the lust and greed. That is thing of the past. I have shunned those tendencies. Anta-gataṁ pāpaṁ, that sinful tendency is gone. gone with puṇya-karmaṇām. With these virtuous thoughts, with the eye of discernment of knowing what is real, what is unreal, understanding, realizing what is real, that those sinful tendencies have become things of the past. It is a history now. I don't even think about it. I am now on this path. I am on this path of dṛiḍha-vratāḥ. I am on this path of firm conviction with the steadfast vows. I am going to worship the Lord. That's what Sri Krishna tells us. This is how beings have to come out of that delusion. And Arjuna being Parantapa, Sri Krishna knows very well he can do it. He can come out of that delusion. He has got that potential. He has got that capability. So, Parantapa, reference to Arjuna, addressing Arjuna as Parantapa in the 27th Shloka. How it is, its significance, how it is so significant, it comes with this 28th Shloka. But those men of virtuous deeds, whose sins have come to an end. Now, sins having come to an end, the sin here, Sri Krishna is not telling actually the pāpa concept that we have in mind. Normally, it is taken, the sin is doing, something very bad. Coming under the spell of pairs of opposites itself is a sin, which is not the original nature of this Jivatman. The original nature of Jivatman is very much akin to the Paramatman. Just having come under the spell of this Yoga Maya, Jivatman feels the temptation from all these pairs of opposites. Temptation and aversion. The Ichha and the Dvesh. We want one thing but we hate another. We want life. We want to cling to the life. We hate death. We want to enjoy life, but we want to run away from death. So even that sort of thinking is sin. So it is not only the immoral act or the evil act or the wrongdoing, anything which is done coming under the spell of Yoga Maya. Anything that is done coming to enjoy the pleasures and avoiding the pain, that is a sinful tendency. If I want pleasure, I must also be prepared to accept the pain, because pain is going to come hand in hand with the pleasure. The sorrow is going to come hand in hand with joy. Unhappiness going to come hand in hand with happiness. This is what happens with each and every aspect of the pair of opposites. So that is kind of a sinful tendency to enjoy anything out, seeking the pleasure and avoiding the pain. That is the sin. Now, this sin can be averted by doing the virtuous acts. Virtuous act is getting freed from this delusion of the pairs of opposites. That itself is the biggest virtuous act anyone can perform. Not going after pleasures, that itself is a virtuous act that anyone can do. Anyone can commit to. I don't want pleasures. I am not going to seek any sense pleasures. I am not going to seek any pleasures cropped out of lust and greed. I am not. They are not for me. Since the pleasure is not for me, the pain is also not for me. I am out of that. And that is the virtuous act. That is the punya karma that Sri Krishna is telling us in this shloka. By doing such punya karma, get away from pāpaṁ. Get away from that delusion. And having got away from that delusion, having got away from those sinful tendencies, automatically dvandva-moha-nirmuktā. Get get free, get liberated from the delusion of the pairs of opposites. By those men of virtuous deeds whose sins have come to an end, who are freed from the delusion of the pairs of opposites, worship me, remaining steadfast in their vows. That is what happens ultimately. The moment the shackles of these sinful tendencies, they are broken. By coming out of the delusion, by these virtuous deeds, by knowing what is real, what is unreal. Once that third eye, the eye of discrimination having opened, the sinful tendencies, they just get destroyed. Whatever action fosters the jivahood is one, is condemned as sin by the wise. Whatever action. The actions, any action which is aimed at seeking any kind of sense pleasure is sin. As simple as that. Because it is influenced by the pairs of opposites. The desire and the aversion. I want one thing, but I don't want the bad effect of it. I only want the good effect. Now, how can that be possible? That just cannot be possible in this realm of the creation comprising of the sattva, rajas and tamas guna. Where there is good, there will be bad. Where there is pleasure, there will be pain. This is how these sattva, rajas, tamas, when they combine together, they create this havoc. In contrast with it, whatever action contributes to self-abnegation is deemed as virtue. Not going beyond the pleasures of senses, that is a virtue. Selfless service has to be carried on incessantly, lest the mind should lapse into lethargy and egotism. If I do something good, my ego gets bloated. I have done this. I have donated this much money. I have done this much for the welfare of this community. All these things. Even the aspiration, desire for name and fame, that also is sin. Get away from all this. What happens? We start doing some charitable work. And what is the goal in our mind? People should say, oh, Satvik has done a wonderful thing. He is such a great person. He has donated lakhs and lakhs of rupees. He has done such and such thing for the upliftment of the poor. I want that name. I want that fame. And if I get it, my ego gets bloated. If I don't get it, I become frustrated. I have done so much and still these foolish people, they don't even acknowledge. What happens? You get lifted by the people, you go your ego gets bloated to unlimited extent. If people don't acknowledge you are doing good for the society, for the people, or for some institution, if it doesn't get acknowledged, you are badly hurt. Your ego is badly hurt. In that case, is that being going to progress towards the Lord? No way. At the end of the life, again he has to come back and start from where he left in the previous birth. So that is what Sri Krishna says, that doing virtuous acts without any self-interest, without any temptation for desire or aversion for non-accomplishments or aversion for non-acknowledgement of what you have done. That is the virtuous act, not the act as such. We may be doing so many good acts for that matter, but are they truly puṇya-karma or they are adding up to our quantum of pāpaṁ? Selfless service has to be carried on incessantly, lest the mind should lapse into lethargy and egotism. Purity of the mind ensues from constant self-denial. Deny the self. Deny the existence of pairs of opposites. Deny the desire and aversion that is, coming in the way. That is becoming a stumbling block. Come out of it and reach a level of purity of mind without any self-interest, without any self-motive. Unswerving adoration of the Lord is possible to him only whose mind is free from tent. And the dṛiḍha-vratāḥ that Sri Krishna has told us in this shloka, that stage of dṛiḍha-vratāḥ, that firm conviction, that firm steadfastness of worshipping the Lord, that stage can only come when we get ourselves out of this pair of opposites. When we detach ourselves from our wants and our fears, when we separate our existence from the dependence of these temptations. I want this, but I don't want that. The moment this kind of dependence gets destroyed, we are out of it. And the moment we are out of it, we get into the stage of becoming a dṛiḍha-vratāḥ and then start worshipping the real cosmic principle. Then comes the stage, like Sri Krishna says, then the beings bhajante mam dṛiḍha-vratāḥ, having deluded dvandva-moha-nirmuktā, having come out of that sphere of delusion of the pairs of opposites, then we start truly worshipping the Lord. Otherwise, it is worshipping the Lord with some kind of a tainted interest. Then starts the real worship. And that is the path towards liberation. That is the path towards the reaching the ultimate goal. So that was, coming to think of this particular verse of Sri Krishna, let's see what way Sri Ramakrishna's teaching can also enlighten our thoughts on this particular shloka of Sri Krishna. Sri Ramakrishna says, a rusty piece of iron is not actively susceptible to magnetization. Sri Ramakrishna, the illiterate, poor Brahmin of Dakshineshwar, born in that place, Kamarpukur, he is telling us physics. He is teaching us physics. A rusty piece of iron is not actively susceptible to magnetization, but when cleansed of the rust, it readily responds. Such a beautiful example. Similarly, in that mind which has become rusty with attachment and aversion and likes and dislikes, devotion to the Lord does not dawn. Whereas in a pure mind, bhakti rises readily. Immediately bhakti takes birth in those minds which are freed from the pairs of opposites, which are those minds where there is no place for likes and dislikes, where there is no place for attachment and aversion. The ichcha dvesha that Sri Krishna told us, that is getting us trapped. And exactly in the same terms, Sri Ramakrishna is telling us that till the time these likes and dislikes, the attachment and aversions, they are clinging to ourselves. They act like that rust on the piece of iron, and the pull of the Lord, that magnetic force, can't have any impact on that rusted piece of iron. This rust has to be clean. We have to use that chemical rust-o-clean, which is used to wipe out the rust from the iron pieces. We have to use that discernment. We have to use that discrimination of removing this rust of attachment and aversion, of removing this rust of likes and dislikes, and then get into the stage of dvandva-moha-nirmuktā. Get into the stage of freedom from the delusion of the pairs of opposites. Only then can the magnet of the Lord's devotion have any impact on our lives. So that was the beautiful shloka taught to us by Sri Krishna. He has shown us the way, and also that lovely example given by Sri Ramakrishna. Remove this rust. Remove the rust of aversion, attachment, the likes, the dislikes. Get out of these temptations. And then see that what a wonderful thing that magnetic force of the Lord's devotion brings in our life. So that is our reading of the 28th shloka of Dnyāna Vidyāna Yoga for the day. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Jai Sri Ramakrishna. Jai Thakur. Jai Ma. Jai Swami.